Now then, Numbers 35 is a very important chapter in the Bible. You think Numbers 35? Never heard of it. Well, Numbers 35 clears up the question of when somebody dies, and especially if they die at the hand of somebody else, either by being killed or by accident, manslaughter, murder, or execution. And some people take the verse in Genesis from the Bible that says, if you shed blood, then by the hand of the one who shed blood, their blood must be shed. And they sort of simplify too much and get confused about how to deal with killing. Should you execute somebody who's an executioner, for example? Or should you regard it as a sin if somebody dies by somebody when it's not intentional or even conceived of them dying? And people who rely on the Genesis chapter just say, well, if you shed someone's blood, your blood must be shed. But why have the chapter Numbers 35? The chapter Numbers 35 says manslaughter is not a sin. And it also says that murder is the worst sin and should be executed. And should you execute an executioner if you go by the Genesis verse? And why do people punish people for manslaughter? It's because they haven't understood or interpreted Numbers 35 correctly. And they send someone to live in a city of isolation and set up a congregation to decide if somebody is guilty or not by saying, if you do this in life to somebody and they die, then this scripture applies. And if that happens to somebody and they die, then that scripture applies. But people are trying to apply a verse to a verse, which is the problem they did with the Genesis verse. But the whole point of Numbers 35 is to show there's a spectrum of severity when somebody dies, and that not everything is a sin, but murder is the worst sin and should be executed. But if you kill somebody unintentionally and it was not planned or conceived, it's not even a sin.